This just broke, so I want to get this to you as quickly as possible. In this video, I'm going to be reading out to you the patch notes that were translated from the developers in Chinese on Season 2 for Marvel Rivals. Let's get started. They go on to say the second phase of Season 1 is arriving soon, and the final battle between heroes and the Undead Legion is about to begin. At this exciting moment, we have decided to make some improvements to certain heroes' abilities. Additionally, starting from Season 2, we will not only adjust hero stats, but also make overall adjustments to teamwork capabilities. Below are the details of the current balance adjustments. Let's start with tanks or vanguards here. Venom. Increased battlefield threat upon entry, reduced energy cost for ultimate. Frenzied arrival now knocks enemies inward instead of vertically with a 75-degree inward knockback angle. Devouring Feast, his ultimate. Energy cost is reduced from 2800 to 2500. Next up is Captain America. They increased survivability during prolonged battles, improved usability of Vibranium Energy Shield, and reduced ultimate energy cost. Now able to use Absolute Will for defense while jumping. Vibranium Energy Shield projectile speed increased from 60 milliseconds to 80 milliseconds. Bounce speed increased from 100 milliseconds to 150 milliseconds. Call of Freedom, his ultimate energy cost reduced from 3100 to 2800. Light Shield Strike and melee attacks are now separate. Melee attacks in Shield Flight or Combo Mode will activate the first two strikes of Light Shield Strike. Divine Descent will no longer trigger when performing melee attacks while airborne. Next up is Thor. Improved usability of Rune Awakening. Removed the global cooldown after Rune Awakening ends. With Groot, they increased range combat threat. Thorn Wall maximum placement distance increased from 15 meters to 18 meters. Magneto. Slightly reduced survivability, slightly increased offensive ability. Magnetic orb damage increased from 35 to 40. Electromagnetic Curtain now consumes 65 energy per second, which is up from 50, and the max duration reduced from 2 seconds to 1.5 seconds. Next up is Doctor Strange. Slight reduced survivability. Base health reduced from 650 to 600. Now, for the DPS, otherwise known as Duelist, Iron Fist. Improved sustained combat capability, added new functionality to Zigzag Punch, and provided more battlefield choices. Jeet Kune Do attack damage adjusted. Hits 1, 2, and 5 reduced from 32 to 30. Hits 3 and 4 reduced from 16 to 15. Hit 6 reduced from 55 to 50. Zigzag Punch damage reduced from 19 to 10 per hit, but now deals 1.7% of the enemy's max HP as damage per hit. Heart Meditation bonus HP increased from 50 to 150, but now decays at 25 hit points per second after 1 second. Blocking counter max converted hit points increased from 150 to 200. Base health increased from 250 to 300. Mr. Fantastic. Improved harassment potential and increased ultimate skill threat. Stretch and slam ground effect radius increased from 2.5 meters to 5 meters. Now also knocks enemies outward. Stretch and slam cooldown increased from 8 seconds to 10 seconds. Mind Crush is ultimate. Energy cost reduced from 2800 to 3400. Mind Crush now has damage fall off, reducing damage from 3 meters outward with max reduction at 10 meters. Next up is Iron Man. Increased damage output of Beam Ray in both normal and overdrive states. Beam Ray damage increased from 120 per second to 140 per second. His armor overdrive beam ray damage is increased from 180 per second to 190 per second. Next up is Hawkeye. He has increased survivability and close range threat, enhanced ultimate skill impact. Base health is increased from 250 to 275. Explosive arrow projectile damage reduced from 20 to 15, but his field damage is increased from 25 to 32. Crescent slash cooldown is reduced from 15 seconds to 12 seconds. His Falcon Vision, which is his ultimate, now charges the bow faster with charge speed multiplier increased from 1.2 to 1.35. Next up is Storm. She has a reduced long-range threat, decreased self-buff from aura while increasing team buff. Windblade damage fall off at 30 meters, improved from 70% to 60%. Thunderstorm self-damage buff reduced from 16% to 12%. Ally buff increased from 8% to 10%. Enhanced Thunderstorm self-damage buff reduced from 30% to 25%. Next up is Starlord. Increased max movement distance for Rocket Boost. Enhanced mobility. Rocket Boost max energy increased from 120 to 1800. Scarlet Witch. Increased survivability when using ultimate. Reality Erasure. Her ultimate grants 100 bonus HP upon activation, which decays at 50 per second after the ultimate ends. Next up is Spider-Man. He has a slightly reduced cooldown for web shot, decreasing attack downtime. Web shot charge time reduced from 3 seconds to 2.5 seconds. Next, Moon Knight. Increased enemy reaction time to Khonshu's Fist, optimized its damage logic. Khonshu's Fist descent speed reduced. Adjusted Khonshu's Fist damage. Each hit now deals 150 instead of 75 while removing the previous central area effect. Black Widow. Improved combat potential and post-ultimate threat. Red Room rifle magazine size increased from 8 to 15. Energy Vortex, the ultimate. Slow effect reduced from 80% to 55%, but now inflicts a 4-second debuff causing a 15% increased damage taking. Hela. Improved suppression ability against mid to long range enemies. Soul Piercer damage fall off at 30 meters increased from 70% to 80%. Next up are the notes on strategists, otherwise known as healers. Adam Warlock, increased damage and slight healing buff during soul synergy. Quantum magic damage increased from 55 to 60. Damage fall off at 40 meters improved from 50% to 60%. Soul synergy healing increased from 10 per second to 15 per second. Next up is Cloak and Dagger. Increased survival during ultimate, reduced ultimate frequency and duration. Light and Shadow, the ultimate energy cost, is increased from 3,400 to 4,000. Light and Shadow duration reduced from 10 seconds to 8 seconds with shorter pause time between phases. Now only applies one healing instance per phase instead of stacking. Camera control unlocked during Light and Shadow. Cloak of Fear vulnerability effect increased from 20% to 28%. Next up is Invisible Woman. She will have a reduced ultimate frequency. Her phantom presence, her ultimate energy cost, is increased from 4,000 to 4,300. Finally, we have the team synergy adjustments. Gamma Charge reduced Hulk's synergy benefit and Beam Ray, the Gamma Overdrive, damage. Dimensional Teleport improved Black Panther and Psylocke's combat endurance. Light Force now grants Moon Knight healing over time after skill activation. Symbiote Bond reworked defensive mechanics for Spider-Man and Penny Parker, now granting temporary invincibility instead of damage reduction. Well, that's it for these notes. The developers have assured us that they are not wasting everyone's time with rumors, that they are working very hard on the game and intend to be truthful with these adjustments. We'll see if these actually really do happen, but I have a pretty good feeling that these things are going to happen, particularly with the adjustments made to the Synergists, as they are very powerful, and a lot of players tend to complain about how powerful their ultimates are. These changes will affect me as I mainly play Synergist, but I just want to remind everyone that really it's about skill and using these things at the right time with the right characters in the game. It's not going to break the game or make someone lose just because there's a second lost or not as much healing going on, or some other type of nerf to some of these characters. These are small adjustments that change the greater picture, but you really still need to be smart with how you use your characters and their ultimates and still get the most value out of those as possible. What do you think about this? What characters do you use in this game? Are you excited about these buffs and these nerfs? Let me know in the comments below.